Okay, in this section, we're going to talk about how to actually start singing our song, especially if we're having some trouble with it. So, a lot of my students, when I first start teaching them, claim that they're tone deaf, that they can't hold a tune at all. And while that may be true for like a very small percentage of the population, for the most part, we actually can match a tune and we can sing. We just don't really know how to do it. Some of it is learned. And for those of us who have been musicians for all of our lives, it's been easier because we started as kids and we kind of know the tricks to actually sing, and we don't even have to think about it anymore. It comes naturally now. But for those of us who have never had any experience with that, it can be a little bit trickier. So I'm going to show you a couple of things to sort of overcome tone deafness, if that's even a thing. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to match the pitch, or really just match a single note. So what I was doing a second ago, I had my G chord, D chord, E minor, and C. And I'm just playing that chord progression. Then I end on this G chord. Okay? And then what I did was I matched the root note of that G chord. So the root note of a chord is really just the name of the chord. So for a G chord, the root is a G. For an E minor, the root note is an E, and so forth. So for a G chord, our root note is right here. We also have a G right here, our G string, and we have a G up here. So those are 3 root notes of that chord. And what I want to do is try to listen to that sound and match it with my voice. I'll show you what I mean. So I pluck this note just by itself, and then I try to hum along with that. Or just speak along with it in sort of a robot monotone voice. So that's a little bit low for me. I'm probably better off coming up here to, this note up here. This sounds a little bit better, is easier for me to match. Really all I'm doing, and really all you need to do is just, you can pick random notes. It doesn't matter if you know the name of the note or not. The idea is that you're going to pick a note, pluck it, listen to it, try to hum along with it. There it is. I don't care if you sound terrible, just try to match that pitch. You see what I'm saying? We just want to hear that note and we want to try to match it. And that's really just kind of like the beginning of singing. That's really what I was doing. It didn't sound great, but that's not the point. The point at this point is really just to kind of hear that pitch and start to match it. And if you can do that, then you'll be in good shape. So play around with this for a little bit. Pick a note, try to hum along with it, see if you can match that pitch. You should sort of hear the same thing. Pick a different note. That's going to be super high. You should sort of hear the same thing. Doesn't have to be a G chord, doesn't have to be E minor, it can be any chord. Like I said, you can pick any note anywhere and try to match it. Once you have that sort of note matching down, you should kind of be able to strum and sing along with the chord. So let's try something. For example, we'll use our G chord. So there's my root of my G, or there's the root of my G, it's a little bit higher. Now I'm just strumming a G chord and I'm trying to sing a G note. Or now I'm strumming a G chord and trying to sing a G note. Sounds a little bit silly, and that's also kind of the point. Kind of lose your inhibitions while you're doing this. You don't have to be around any other people while you're practicing. Just kind of sit there alone, pluck those notes, and try to sing along with it. Now, it's not super interesting, it's not super fun, but it is an exercise that will absolutely help you with your singing. So if you can get that down, then you can start getting a little more comfortable. There are a couple of other things that we can do to start being more comfortable with our own voice. And that is, as you're singing the song, if you're still having trouble matching the pitch or matching the melody, instead of singing along with the melody, just get comfortable with the words and just sort of speak along with the words rather than sing along with the words. All singing really is just sort of holding out our words a little bit longer in a lot of cases. Like if I say that sentence again, all singing really is just holding out the notes a little bit longer. Again, sounds kind of weird, but it definitely sounds a little more musical. And then as we change notes or we change pitches, the sound of our voice, or the pitch and the the notes that we're singing sort of go up and down, and that really just turns it into a melody. So the idea again is, if you're struggling with really finding that pitch that the musician or the artist is singing within your song, just try to speak along with the words. If you can get that down and sort of speak at the rhythm that they're singing, then that will make it so much easier when you actually start playing along with the chords. So a couple of other things real quick. Don't try to imitate your artist. That sort of kind of goes without saying, as I just mentioned. We're not trying to be that artist, at least not at this point. Be yourself. You be comfortable with the the voice and the vocal cords that you have. Just try to match that tempo. Don't try to imitate what the artist is doing, especially if you're having trouble singing along. Now, if you're comfortable with singing, then you can try to match the style of their singing. But for the most part, just try to use your own voice and be comfortable with that. The other piece of it is, if you can put all of that kind of stuff together, and again, like I said, lose your inhibitions, don't worry too much about it, just try to match the tempo of the song, know those lyrics really well. That will start you off so much better. Don't worry if if you think you're tone deaf. Try that exercise I mentioned where you pick a note and try to sing along with it, and then play a chord and try to sing along with it. And then what happens is we start to add other chords, and then we change our voice as we play these other chords. That's it. It's weird, right? But it should be a little bit weird, and it should be a little bit awkward. Take your time with it if you're having trouble with it. It's not, something that comes naturally to everybody. So don't feel bad if you're struggling. Again, take your time. Okay, once you've got that piece down, let's start learning some chords of our song. I'll see you in the next section.